but he also cannot be sometimes.
It all depends. With Alufal, it's like one of those, you know, stories where you're like, if the player feels comfortable, he can absolutely dominate. But if the player is sort of pushed out of his comfort zone, then Alufal will not show up. And it's really the difference between a good player and an absolute star player to always perform, right? Even when, you know, the hero might not be 100% right up his alley. I want to draw a conclusion or a comparison to Rich in Korea from Gen G, for example. No matter which hero you put him on, he's usually always going to perform. With Alufal, that's unfortunately not always the case.
Completely agree. Completely agree. If he's on one of his comfort heroes, one of his high mobility heroes, I think is a really good way to describe the heroes that Alufal is really good at, which very much carries over from his time as a support player, where he was a fantastic Kharazim. Then this is where he really starts to shine. If he's a little bit less mobile, has less escape tools, he can struggle a bit. He seems to lack that pure survivability from playing aggressive with just stutter step micro that someone like DSM or Xing C used to have. But he is still incredibly good if he's given that high mobility hero. But for now, we are seeing that Diablo removed away from 619, mentioned it earlier. But Decade Cain taken away from 365.
And you know, with the appearance of Whitemane and her high priority in China, at least with the bans, you know, in the first couple of ban runs, well, ironically speaking here, she's not even banned in this game. I think heroes like Genji and Maiev have made it through a little more frequently yesterday. We saw a couple of Genji rounds, we saw one Maiev game, which probably taught everyone a lesson to not let that hero go through again. So yeah, with Maiev being banned over the Whitemane and Genji, of course, as well, we see Sally Whitemane being picked immediately by Beyond the Game. Now, yesterday, I think we saw her 3 or 4 times, and yet Whitemane is still with a negative record in China. But I think that is going to change as teams are starting to get more warmed up and more practiced with her.
Actually, I think she has a positive ratio now.
Did you get to positive win ratios yesterday? I thought she was like 2-3 or 1-2. She lost when the A team played her against SPT. Right.
But then she won twice when the A team played her against KT. So it's only the A team who has even played her so far, and they are 2-1 with her.
Okay,
unless I've missed one.
Yeah, we actually, of course, if we talk about the A team and Whitemane, right, we remember the glorious game of Illidan and Whitemane. Yeah. Together, they seem to be a pretty decent match. And the Illidan actually, I was kind of curious, you know, when you saw the intro, Illidan was actually portrayed as the flagship hero of KT. They should have definitely changed that to the A team, because oh boy did Bruiser put on a show on that hero yesterday.
All right, as we see the hammer band out. They don't want to get zoned out with that Garrosh, immediate removal of the Thrall, because if they don't want to get zoned out, they don't want to, BTG don't want to get poked down, or at least hit by Sundering, which could do some put Whitemane in a bit of a rough position. So here's the question as we see Blaze and Malfurion. Which heroes would you put for each team as that intro video?
Ooh, let's actually stay with those two. I think it would be a little too far-fetched to actually go for every single team right now.
Yeah, but we'll do each team as we go through the matches.
Yeah, absolutely. So for CE, I would probably stick with Garrosh, although Wind is no more in the team. Maybe even go for, let's say, Phoenix, because they have both Zhuyu and Luful play that hero, actually. And for BTG, up to this point, it would probably have to be, with Loktar in the mix, maybe Li Ming.
Yeah, I can see Li Ming, but he's also not playing
maybe Alarak with LOK
anymore. Yeah, Alarak seems like a good choice to be. I like that. If not, then Anubarak. 619 seems to like the Anubarak, so I wouldn't hate that either. A CE, they finish out with the Zeratul, quite likely the Zhuyu or KTY. Looks like it's going to be Zhuyu on that, because KTY is on the Blaze. Yep. Excellent point. Alufal, he's on a very unmobile assassin, but Reina is pretty good no matter what. If you do get Dove, he's one of the ones who can survive it.
Yeah, absolutely. Out of all these quote-unquote unmobile or immobile ranged assassins that you brought up, Tetra, I think Reina is probably the one that suits Alufal the best. Because, as you said, he does have his adrenaline rush, right? He does have a very stable kit, if you so desire. There's a couple of talents like Fight or Flight at level 1 that allow you to become even more resilient, adding a little bit of armor to your healing as well. So with KTY back on this Blaze, I think next to Soap of SBT, he's easily one of the best Blaze players in the league right now. So I'm already feeling very optimistic, very confident in the draft that CE has assembled. The big question mark, of course, remains XTQ, right? How well can he play this Garrosh compared to Wind, who is an absolute legend on that hero? I can't wait to see what he is going to bring to the table. But what do you think about this draft coming in from BTG?
BTG's draft is very interesting. Once again, it's the first Whitemane we've seen not played by the A team. And it seems a little bit more focused around controlling the point, whereas CE is controlled about punishing people who overstep. Especially with that Garrosh, for example, as we already mentioned. Reina can massively punish people with his just incredible amount of damage if he's able to keep up with them and track them down. Overall, I quite like CE's draft, but BTG's, once again, that Whitemane is the unknown factor here. The Yrel might give them enough control, as well as the Junkrat, to be able to play around this punishing comp for CE.
I fully agree with you. I think the composition of Beyond the Game looks super resilient. It's going to take quite the effort to punch through that healing and defending. For now, though, we're going to see BTG on the left-hand side in the blues with 619, Dancing, Druid, LLK, and Loktar.
And on the right, it is CE with a Luful, XTQ, Zhuyu, KTY, and 365.
Here we go. So we see Malfurion against Whitemane, which is a duel we've seen plenty of times yesterday, actually. Usually it's the two supports, like the two supports that are usually getting banned out in China are these days either Alex Rasa, Whitemane, and sometimes even the Decker Kane, right? So it's really cool to see how China prioritized these support heroes, these support picks, with Whitemane making it through, because I think it was actually Beyond the Game who banned Decker Kane this time. So Decker Kane, you know, we called him the most reliable support these days in the current meta, because he usually always performed decently well.
A relatively unsuccessful minion block from CE, not able to hold the minion wave very effectively. So it did just meet in the center of the map. And as such, BTG, they get the slight advantage in terms of clear speed and begin their rotation significantly faster. This was interesting, though, because they did deny stacks to the Hanzo, especially with that scatter arrow, but he was still able to acquire a couple as everyone stood in the gateway as opposed to behind it, and he was able to grab a couple there.
Yeah, with Volskaya Foundry, by the way, we should probably mention this map choice as well. Volskaya Foundry, we haven't seen it a single time yesterday, so already cool to see how teams are switching things up here. But yeah, Volskaya Foundry, of course, due to the way the Battleground is designed, it's not always easy for Hanzo players to actually stack up their Scattershots quest at level 1 here, because there's a lot of spacious areas, and only when teams are starting to fight over objectives here at the platforms will you get a couple of walls to really help you scatter your arrows in the first place. So right now, both warriors are just, you know, saying hello to one another. Not really a whole lot is going to happen. Muradin is mobile. Garrett is tanky. So yeah, for now, both teams are just rotating and trying to maintain lane control.
Yeah, keeps it going, at least for the moment. Blaze, quick rotation up to mid lane. He's going to try and double soak while he... Well, actually, it looks like he was thinking about rotating to the rest of his team, but everyone from BTG is playing safe enough with 619 in the front line position. The Groundbreaker too early this time. Unable to gain those Warbreaker stacks. Sorry, Warbreaker. Definitely got Warcraft on the mind.
And I think because the reason why Blaze and both Blaze and Yrel actually were kind of rotating towards the middle is because in China we've seen it plenty of times that teams like to go for this mercenary camp, this healing mercenary camp super early. Now XTQ, and already in a little bit of trouble, gets that healing throw from Malfurion. So yeah, you just want to... Never mind, XTQ actually overstaying his welcome. I think he overestimated his own tankiness and resilience, but when there's no enemy heroes nearby, Malfurion can't really get that burst, that tiny bit of burst healing done. And with XTQ falling here because of an individual mistake, this healing camp all of a sudden now seems to be a pretty easy one for Beyond the Game. But I was going to say, like, Chinese teams, they like to prioritize these healing pulses super early on, and they will not back down to actually brawl over it.
As such, BTG grabbed the first biotic emitter of the game as Luful just cleaned out the lane himself. He did go for Ace in the hole. He was holding his level 1 talent, so there was clearly consideration to go for the Exterminator that saw a lot of play yesterday for reasons that I'm not aware of. As XTQ retakes up position. Loktar on this Yrel, a hero who I don't think we've seen him on yet, including at the Eastern Clash, so I'm going to be very curious to see how effectively he's able to play this.
Yeah, no, everybody knows, like everybody who's watching HGC China at least knows Loktar as that stellar, super dangerous ranged assassin player, but he's now on the melee flex role for the most part. In the meantime, we see an engage from said Loktar, jumping in, still full HP. The healing pulse hasn't been used yet. They're definitely going to try to save it for the later stages of this objective fight.
Loktar was a little off target on his first jump, not applying the armor to his allies. This time he gets it. giving that little bit of 35 armor, but no poke comes in from CE, so that armor is lost here. Druid, nice positioning, gets a little bit of extra damage, and nice scatter arrow coming in from Hanzo, completing the quest as well.
Oh.
Good knockback with that concussion mine that was there for ages.
Another
one comes out, taking out the Raider, looking for XTQ, and down he goes, drained into oblivion. And 99% for CE, but BTG take control of the point. But Zhuyu, that was a 4v5 the entire time because he's soaking this top lane and pushing it up.
Exactly. So basically, CE's logic behind that team fight was, you know what, we're going to try to hold this as long as we can with a 4 versus 5 team fight position. We're going to bring that charge up all the way to 99%. Let Zeratul deal a little bit of damage to the top lane with the help of those mercenaries. And then, because the death timer is being so low, we're going to respawn, we're going to come back, and we're going to try to finish this objective. However, of course, with those death timers now being in place, BTG actually could use all of that momentum, and they're the ones actually taking control over this platform. And if they end up getting that first protector, this is actually... then CE will kind of be in a rough position because that first protector can oftentimes be the foundation for an early snowball here in Volskaya Foundry.
BTG are going to be very happy to fight this. They have double turrets and a biotic emitter to CE's single turret. Lokta dives deep, applies the armor to 619. First turret is dropped by both teams. Biotic emitter also being thrown out pretty early here in this fight as the second turret drops down as well. This will wipe out CE's turret and drive them off the point. And maybe even kill KTY. Strapped against the wall.
They got him!
Dancing also 8 tower damage and was still able to escape over that little wall there.
Oh, I gotta give it to LLK up to this point on that Junkrat. He is creating all those plays. He's making it happen here on that Junkrat. We saw it yesterday already, what Junkrat can sometimes do for a team, right? With all the sneaky concussion mines, that dislocation can be so good. Speaking of Junkrat, he needs to be careful. Zeratul is already lurking in the shadows, trying to maybe find a target, and a squishy target like Junkrat would, of course, be his ideal choice. But yeah, as you said, Tetra, beautiful team fight. They even dove him underneath the tower. The Protector is now melting said towers here, opening up the map quite a bit. And Beyond the Game is indeed Beyond the Game up to this point. They're fully in control.
They are. They hold the map right now with Whitemane and Hanzo pushing in. Looks like they might want to try and at least get a little bit of damage to the 4. Good concussion by placement. Oh. Yes, it's perfect. Maximum distance against the wall. Body blocks are real. And Loktar takes him out. 619. And Loktar juggling the aggro perfectly. They hit level 10, grab another kill. And now they were able to even do some damage to that 4. Looking for yet another kill, but it's Zeratul, so no.
Yeah, and since Blaze, KTY was already in that bottom lane, of course, there was no other way for him to actually run away to. He could have actually maybe tried to stall a little bit more time by using the conveyor belts and try to do a little bit of juking and running away. But you know what? Those juking and delaying maneuvers can actually sometimes backfire when you just delay the inevitable and actually cause your team to fight 4 versus 5 a little bit longer, because you're then going to have that death timer a few seconds later. So I can't really fault KTY for trying to die here immediately. Another concussion, my LLK. You can't do that. This is just bullying your opponents at this point.
He stays alive. Everyone is able to keep going for the moment as level 10 is now available for CE as well. They even have all their heroics on board with the Tranquility coming in here. No cheeky Twilight Dream to try and wreck Whitemane, as she does have minimal mobility, so you can maybe move in and get those punishing positions.
So far, we haven't seen a single Divine Reckoning on Whitemane. It seems to be exclusively the Aegis, which we can't really fault them for. You know, Aegis, especially in professional play, the amount of extra protection, the healing, and especially the armor, it is just so good, and especially in Chinese team fights, mind you, where it's oftentimes a straight up 4 versus 4, 5 versus 5 all the time. So yeah, a lot of potent weapons, though, also available for CE, as you mentioned. The Void Prison, the Taunt, those can actually make for some insane crowd control combos. So let's see how Beyond the Game is actually deciding to fight into this.
Let's keep an eye on the positioning, especially as Garrosh has been moving very far forward and has eaten a lot of damage. And that's even without like a sharpened arrowhead's Hanzo, which is where you would usually maybe see that kind of Garrosh punishment back a couple months ago, and also one game yesterday for some reason, as we did see the quick camp clear. But these Cat Arrows are doing a good job at the moment, and the cleanse from Whitemane, that potential to try and counter the Garrosh if he does step too far forward, makes it even riskier for him to make these aggressive step forwards.
Yeah, Intercession, the level 7 talent of Whitemane, of course, comes with a pretty hefty cooldown of 60 seconds, but what it also does, next to the cleansing effect that Tetra already mentioned, is, of course, it applies the healing buff of Whitemane onto that target. So the moment Whitemane is then going to apply damage onto the enemy team, that target is going to get healed immediately. So a little bit of a bonus effect on that one, making this talent, especially in China, a very popular one. The talent that we're used to seeing a lot in other regions, such as Europe and Korea, for example, is Fanatical Power. It is an activatable talent that gives her 50% spell power, which makes her healing and her damage output a little bit stronger for a limited time.
Which I can understand, but personally I am very much all behind Cleanse at any moment. Cleanse is viable. Assuming your opponent has CC, I am always going to vote for Cleanse.
There we go. Speaking of it, there goes the Nature's Cleanse.
Nature's Cleanse keeping him alive for the moment. He even taunts, but the quick Cleanse comes out, which might have given him the chance. The armor is applied. What kind of play can they make? Brute man, but Brute already turns on the Avatar. Druid able to pull back, and that was where he can't play. That Cleanse allowed everyone to escape.
Absolutely, that was perfect, immaculate timing here from Beyond the Game. For a moment, I was starting to get a little worried here because Zeratul AoE damage was actually pretty good. But as you said, with that Aegis coming in from Whitemane, the 40 armor, nothing to be sneezed at. And if you think, or if you look at it, the cooldown trading here was actually favoring Beyond the Game as well. They still have so many abilities, but here they go. We see a knockback coming in from Loktar.
Juyu gets wrecked as 619 leaps onto him. Loktar chases forward but can't get in range. This level 13 talent is just perfect for the style that Loktar plays. Incredibly aggressive. It's also the usual talent to pick these days. That increased ability power as XTQ once again finds himself in no man's land, but this time Alufal is the one to save him.
Yeah, speaking of people that need saving, KTY once again surrounded, outnumbered, and outgunned here, it seems. Is he going to make it, though? A beautiful saving throw from XTQ coming in. But speaking of getting flung and thrown, he's the one with yet another concussion mine. Survives up to this point, though.
It seems to me, from looking at this, that everyone on CE can't save themselves, and their teammates are really good at saving each other. So, the fact is they ran out of saving tools there with that concussion mine. Once again, LLK has just been dominating this game. So we have a quick pause before we continue, but seriously, LLK, his concussion mines have been so on point this game, it's unreal.
Absolutely amazing. Like, we always knew that LLK was an absolute savage in the league, right? He was always considered, not only by us, but also by Chinese commentators. Whenever I talked to Yaya on Twitter, for example, she always remarked him as one of the most impactful players in China in terms of, you know, skill, individual skill, hero pool. It's absolutely amazing to see him on the rise right now. And although Beyond the Game wasn't able to show that or to display that at the Eastern Clash because of heavy substitute issues, I think a fully stacked LLK or Beyond the Game with LLK and all the other members could actually have the potential to maybe, you know, make an impact at BlizzCon if they so actually qualify.
Yeah, like we've already mentioned, this BTG roster seems to be working out. Loktar, this is like his first proper league play on the Melee Assassin. He was able to make some really solid plays in general at the Eastern Clash on the very few times he was playing Melee Assassin, but he did way better on ranged. And as such, BTG adjusted and put him on range pretty much every time. But now we're in league play, he doesn't look like he's missed a trick. He looks like he's just supposed to be playing the offlaner, that Bruiser style.
And it also speaks for his quality, you know, for the quality of his personal skill level, right? Whenever there's a role change, and mind you, the role change from the ranged assassin to melee flex is quite a big one, in my personal opinion. It's a completely different playstyle, right? But the faster you see these players adapt and do really well, the more it speaks for their quality, right? Another great example would have been Zelia when he switched over from the ranged assassin role to the support role. Nurk, of course, can be mentioned in Europe as well on Team Liquid. So really cool to see how Loktar is not even struggling in the first place. Juyu, for example, on CE, when he made that transition, he struggled a lot more.
He really did, as did KTY when he actually first swapped over. So very interesting to see that. But he's much better now. No issues for KTY at this point. They really, that was when CE were really like in their roughest moment, where they were like trying to find which of their players could like fill in this role.
Looks like that Protector capture zone is definitely going to be Beyond the Game. 16 is nowhere even near close for CE, so they're just going to let this go. And once again, Tetra, we have to mention this, right? It's not just any team that Beyond the Game is currently dominating. It is CE, two-time China champions, the eternal second, if you will, next to SPT for the longest time. And only when the one kind of stepped into this and formed this trifecta of China, Beyond the Game was always that team that had a lot of potential, but they never truly could catch up to those set 3 teams. For this time, though, with Wachter in the mix, LLK stepping it up so much, the entire team stepping it up, this could very well be the first time they might even overtake CE in terms of points and skill.
We see BTG right now looking to overtake CE in terms of the structure count by even more than they already have. They take down mid fort as well, moving down towards bot lane as well, looking maybe for a third fort. They have 40 seconds left and 64% health on this protector. This fort might be in trouble with the front wall already very much weakened.
Yeah, absolutely true, and they're going to take that final fort there in the bottom as well. 619 trying to pave the way here for yet another play. LK with those feared, dreaded concussion mines not there yet, but there goes another knockback from Irel. The Riptide actually ready to jump and bounce behind the wall.
Ends up becoming just a little bit of structure damage onto those tier 2s before they even finish off this fort, but the protector dives on that. With 7 seconds remaining, it takes down the fort. Now, they could, in theory, just move up to this turret area, maybe just drop a quick shield before the protector dies, but they don't do that in time. Now they dive forward. Dragon Arrow misses, but they're still doing it to the back line. Great Void Prism. What could they make out of this? There's 2 of the front lines who are left available. A great fruit coming in, but the quick biotic emitter coming out as Dancing is just chasing down Zeratul while everyone else fights near the towers.
Yeah, it's every man for himself at this point. Can Juyu actually make it? Does he have a blink? Yes, he does. But Dancing, I think, is not going to be able to close the gap. Too big of a lead here. Yeah, Juyu makes it out. And that combo Tetra looked actually pretty sick, didn't it, at first glance? We had a VP, the roots underneath, but then guess what happened? We had another Aegis from Whitemane. We had the healing pulse drop down as well. And speaking of healing pulses, Beyond the Game is so dominant right now that they actually have another one in their pockets, and they're going to get healing pulse number 3.
Yeah, and CE, their draft really was made to set up on the point and just stay there. Yeah. But the problem is they're getting absolutely wrecked in terms of the poke, and they've lost every single fight before level 10 happened. So they weren't able to even get onto an even fight on an objective yet. So this is why they are looking so rough right now, as their draft is in trouble. They need to start moving in and look for a punishing play. They find 619. Toss is there. Root from Valkyrian lands as they try to focus down Muradin, but he's in Avatar form.
In Avatar form, the Stone Skin is there as well to keep him safe and sound. The bunker is about to get popped. Druid is a little bit in trouble here. We see healing pulse being deployed left and right.
Dragon Arrow on XTQ, but he tanks through it. Groundbreaker does not land though. Blaze coming back from the side. Bunker is already gone though. Juyu being chased out as well. Nice into the fray, and once again, XTQ gives his life for his teammates.
Yep. Better to lose one member than the entire team, and this time KTY on that Blaze is actually going to make it to safety here. So a couple of items were used on the side of BTG to keep everyone alive, but I think the result definitely validates all these resources being put to good use here. Dancing, though, needs to be careful. Even the Aegis has to be used here. He could have jumped over that fort maybe a little bit earlier. But yeah, once again, they still have enough items in their pockets. They had to use a couple of those to stay safe, and it is yet again CE, who all they can do right now is just react. They are meant to be the team that acts because of that VP combo potential, but they're the team that reacts all the time now.
And BTG finally seemingly coming into their own after 3-4 phases in the league. They're finally beginning to massively show up this phase. Let's see if they can keep this up as the phase goes on, as they begin to, for starters, Junkrat just flying around the map with the greatest ease and glee, moving up to that biotic emitter as they grab more. But they have the level 20s. We have the upgraded Ardent Defender coming in here. Yrel going forward. What is that card? I can't remember. Just the up. Yeah, I can't remember.
It's the upgraded Ardent Defender, which also applies AoE healing whenever she takes damage, which is pretty insane. But in the meantime, while we're still thinking about Yrel's level 20, Beyond the Game just casually kills the entire front line of CE, making it a 20-17 in Beyond the Game's favor. And, you know, with Storm Talons online right now, I don't even know why CE tried to even scout ahead. They should have definitely tried to maybe predict that Beyond the Game was lurking in the shadows already. But it's easier said than done, right? At least at some point, they're going to have to maybe try to find an isolated target for Beyond the Game.
And just quickly, when I said Yarelda, I actually meant Whitemane. I didn't know her level 20 talent. I thought I've only really seen Scarlet Crusade. It is Purge the Wicked, blast an enemy hero with holy fire, reducing their armor by 25 and dealing 300 damage over 4 seconds.
If you think about it and like look at the enemy team, this talent can actually get some insane value, right? Garrosh tries to, bank on his armor heavily, and even the Blaze Bunker applies 25 armor consistently to all the targets that enter and exit it. So with the reduction of armor and the additional damage over time, it is actually even easier for Beyond the Game to find that opening, to find that one kill to really snowball ahead. So with 3 levels almost. Yeah, actually, 3 levels ahead. I think you can actually go for this greedy call, Purge the Wicked at level 20. I'm not hating it.
Gonna definitely give them a little bit more burst. Burst through Garrosh armor, burst through Bunker armor, burst through the Rainer armor, and of course, Tranquility armor.
Yeah.
As we see all the items being collected. CE were able to sneak away a...
Do they even have slots left? Like people who can still pick items? Yeah, it looks like one person exactly could have carried that turret.
We did have a 5-item game on one team in Open Division yesterday. It was pretty good, as we do see BTG moving into the bot lane. They've already opened this up, taking out all the towers. The gate is basically non-existent at this point. They're going to try and move in for this keeper minimum. And if they can get a kill, as Juyu moves very far forward, he gets into the fray though, staying alive as Garrosh is tanking through, at least for the moment. KTY with a very early bunker. It's a bit too far away for them to make any more use of at this point. But everyone is alive, at least for the time being. And Luke will eat a little bit of poke damage as the keep gets wrecked.
Yeah, keep in mind that both damage dealers here inside of Beyond the Game are actually in that protector, but it does not matter. Zeratul goes down before even being able to use his Void Prison.
Zeratul taken out with a great burst. 619 dives deep onto the backline and they take out Malfurion. And with that, they're quite low health at this point. Protector moves onto the core. Quick shield applied as it burns down as much as it can. Everyone's still alive here as Raider is trying to get enough damage to keep everyone alive. KTY with the good disruption, double stun coming out. Protector gets Red. They both get out the Protector. Riptire the zone away from Alupal as they burn down the core, taking out both the front line. Alupal cannot take everyone down here, and that will be game number 1. Going over to BTG.
Absolutely well played here by Beyond the Game, taking game number 1 here against CE. And if you measure this game from the old order, you would have definitely considered CE to be not the huge favorite, but a considerable favorite. But now with the new world order, we have Beyond the Game absolutely crushing and dominating them. Volskaya, Foundry,